kan vara där. Ja, du kan testa.
Okej, varsågoda.
Okay, welcome back to this online seminar at the Institute for Future Studies. Part 2, we had to take a break because our expert we have here, Jana Adami, had to go for an interview with the Swedish radio. Did it go well?
Yes, I think so. That should the audience evaluate. But it was interesting because before me, I heard some of the renowned economists in Sweden, Claes Eklund, was discussing the corona crisis. So that also puts this seminar into the context where we all, the experts, need to collaborate and discuss the issues.
Very good. So we're gonna go back to some of the questions. There are still many questions. I hope we will get through some of them. And some questions are actually questions about questions that you have tried to answer. I don't try to answer them. But here's a question that's been coming up a number of times. Why do some countries show so high fatality rates, morbidity rates, like Italy, Spain, France, and some seem to have low, like Germany and Japan? Or is that just again a problem of knowing how many people have actually been infected?
I mean, I think there are several factors affecting this. I mean, we know that in Italy, that due to the delay before they understood the severity, they had shortage of intensive care units. So, but we also know that it was the elderly and vulnerable people, which age groups and other factors that affected the high death rates, and that's of course very, very severe. Again, we're also coming back to organization of the healthcare system. That is, and the infrastructure, because here we come into other parts of society that are so important. So, for example, the recommendation that quite early on came into the Swedish society, that not go to healthcare, or at least not unnecessarily go there. Then we know in Italy, for example, patients undergoing cancer treatment, they have no ambulance or no transport, health transport to bring them to the hospital. So already they are talking about culture or infrastructure. Their relatives had to take them to the hospital for their cancer treatment. So again, the whole society, the infrastructure, the economy, the transport and so on also affected that it's so hard to for them. So they were reactive from the very beginning, and that's why it became so severe. Here we knew from the very first case that came from Lombardia, where it came from, who was infected, how to trace those that had been close to that person. So at least we were more prepared, definitely so.
And here's another question from the audience. Do we know anything about the extent to which treatment with respirators or other kind of treatment actually save lives? Is it successful, the treatments? If somebody comes into the hospital getting treated?
Today?
Yeah.
I mean, we know how to handle it, or what we, but maybe we need to go back to what can we do if a patient come in, and I happen to be.
This is your area.
Yeah, well, it's my area, because if I'm as a physician, I'm trained in emergency care and anesthesia, but maybe this one. So we know there is no treatment. And the aim is to relieve the symptoms while your body fights the illness. Mm-hmm. To treat the severe symptoms, which means that is when it goes down to your lungs. And if you then need ventilation, as we say, or even respirator, where you for a longer time or period is that in that state of art and get artificial ventilation. That's, I mean, and then you have the very, very severe cases. And then you never know who will.
We have any numbers now, how it's been going?
In the Swedish numbers?
Swedish numbers,
The Swedish number. Now I haven't heard the numbers for today, how many have died. But,
Just,
but there are a few, but according to my understanding and last when I was updated, those who unfortunately, and that's of course very, very sad, died has been elderly people.
Mhm.
Those, because then also age do with us that,
of course.
you know,
But I think the question here is like, if let's say somebody come in to the
Mhm.
hospital with
Mhm.
severe symptoms and have to go on a ventilator,
Mhm.
how successful are you in getting them up and getting to recover? Is there any numbers
If,
on that?
that relates to age.
Okay, so
That relates to age and underlying disease.
Mm.
If you, if an ordinary about 50-year-old person, CEO, head of the Institute for Future Studies, come in, I don't know about your underlying health, but then you're much more successful. So that goes with age. As in any other case, if you need ventilation for some other reason after a surgery or something like that.
and that connects another thing. I mean, I made a little bit of a fuss on social media that in France, now from the CNRS, they went out and said, look, you shouldn't believe that it's only is very bad or kills old people, because it actually also kills young people, and they also have some statistics that half of the cases they had in the hospital is below 60. Now, is that just a statistical variation? And I can see why you want to say that to make people behave better, but do we have any evidence that it actually, I mean, before we had the thing, okay, it's really old people, but of course it's statistical distribution, so it will hit some young people, even children, but very, very few. Is there any changing opinion about that?
I can't say that because then also the statistics and I like the probability or the confidence intervals,
Yeah.
taking into consideration what are, as we say in epidemiology, confounders
Yeah.
and biases.
And biases,
So,
yeah.
so are there confounders? Let's say that a very young person dies, as yes, we have cases. Is that is it random, or is it due to this 45-year-old, let's say, happen to have other diseases or treatment or an unhealthy lifestyle? So all those factors affect any patient that is coming to any intensive care unit. So I would say it's too early because you don't have enough cohorts or numbers to really say that yes, it affects anyone in any age group. And I don't have the detail about these patients, but it's, from a biostatistical epidemiological point of view, then I can be sure to say that we don't have enough numbers to be sure to say that the severity is affecting everyone. Then I more go to as experience as a clinician.
But it's always said that, I mean, it's really hitting old people. That's what we call the vulnerable people. It's old people and people with
Chronic
other
diseases, other diseases.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that still holds true, you say.
I was, yes, I mean, in general, I would be confident to say yes.
Very good. Okay. Good. Let's see. Now, here's a question that has been coming up.
Now you're laughing a little bit.
This is, I don't, it was might be an unfair question to ask to you, but someone else, I mean, all these pandemics are vessel of handling animals turn into meat. And if you didn't have this, we wouldn't get these pandemics. But they actually, I mean, there is a crossover at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, this one is likely to come from bats.
Yes.
And then, of course, one talked about the Wuhan meat market. And then this question, well, this pandemics, I mean, if we stopped eating meat, we wouldn't have these pandemics of this type. Because we wouldn't have these meat markets or something like that.
That is, I would, because talking about, let's see if I have...
I mean, it might sound utopian anyway. But
yes. It was this one I wanted to show. Now, let's say it like this. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of viruses. And there are different types of animals. We can also talk about this the ecological system that is also needed for a world. So just saying that take away animals with certain type of meat, because now we happen to know and seem to be bat, and I also heard other animals bored. I think it was someone who said.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say, no.
Oh, okay. So this idea
That I don't believe, no.
okay. But it means it's not that we have seen, let's take a more general question here, that this jumping over from animals to humans, that have increased during, let's say, the last 40 years, or...
No, I wouldn't. I would say that looking in virology and all this whole field, and also look at birds, the bird flu, and so on and so forth. So that would be very naive to say that take away meat and all of us go vegan, then we will have no coronavirus. It's rather the globalization of the world, traveling, and more people, and so on and so forth.
Now, here's a question from Canada. Somebody wasn't satisfied with the answer, I think, to an earlier question. It's about the argument against general testing, and the argument against general testing in Sweden. He or she wonders, isn't it collectively beneficial to have the knowledge such testing would provide? Why is it not beneficial to have this knowledge if you do massive testing?
No. I'm not saying that it's not beneficial to have the knowledge. I mean, as an epidemiologist, it would be fantastic to have this huge cohort and do studies. I'm just saying that in this balance, when we now need to flatten the curve, then of course we don't have endless resources. So therefore, it wouldn't be wise in combating the pandemic right now to also go out testing everyone, because that would be put burden on the healthcare sector, on the industry that need to have the testing kits, and that is probably not wise right now. But I'm not saying that is not a good idea from other perspectives. But I wouldn't say that we. To handle the pandemic right now, you need to balance where to put your resources.
So let's move to a little bit different area. What's your opinion about how mass media and journalists have been understanding epidemiology and, in this case, with the coronavirus?
I mean, we must also see that we are representatives from different sectors and different professions. So then it makes me go to, let's see, this slide. I mean, politics, ideology have some purposes. Media and regardless if it's big or small, they also have their ideology, their readers. It's of course their responsibility and how they want to communicate.
Let me ask the question a bit different. How often when you open a newspaper do you cringe when you see what you're reading? Like
about Corona?
About Corona and epidemiology and what's the subject?
Quite often. Yeah. I actually almost have stopped reading it. No, I mean, I need to keep updated about the debate. But I think you mentioned earlier that my engagement in WHO, and that's, I mean, I'm a Swedish government representative there, so it's not that I'm within the WHO politics, you can also say, but it was very early on, already in January, WHO had never ever encountered so much work and so much fake news to handle. So that is more an interesting phenomenon. So I mean, so I'm not ready to do like personal critique to this or that person, but it also needs to be put into context. What is the driving force for media? It's to have many readers. Then some media might claim that they really use critical thinking and so on and so forth. what I have reflected over the last few days, maybe more, is this picture. It would be interesting to understand. Maybe they have done it. Have they read and understood the basis for the national guidelines? Have they put it into a context that this is a legislation, that there are ethical aspects, there are things that we are deemed to do, not to break the law, and that laws goes back to the international law. That is more what I reflected, to put it into a broader context, an umbrella, and to understand and like critical thinking and critical questions.
Very good. Here's another question coming from the audience. And do we know anything about are there any difference in the strains of the coronavirus in different areas of the world, or are they all?
No, not as today. No.
Yeah. Okay, so they're all the same.
But more and more is coming, and that I mean, I can, for those of you in those types of sciences, maybe microbiology or something. I mean, this database, it's so much of interest there, and it's also, again, there are articles now about ethics, sociology, and stuff like that coming up, and psychology as well. So, my understanding, not being a virologist, I haven't seen anything of that, or I don't have the knowledge about that.
Good. So I'm going to let you go. There's some more questions. So here is another question. Now, if you can speculate a little bit, it's hard to say anything about this. But if you look in the next 1 to 3 weeks, what do you think are the likely measures that are going to be taken in Sweden? What's the next steps? We recently kind of, to some extent, closed down the universities. But as you know,
Yes.
What's going to be the next measure, you think, is going to happen? In Norway, they have stopped people from going to their hytte, to their countryside house.
Yes.
Will that happen in Sweden?
Maybe not that. I mean, now I want to reinforce that I'm speculating now.
That's speculative.
What I was thinking of actually yesterday when I saw that they were reducing the number of people, groups. I think both in Denmark and in other countries, in US as well, I think. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe this 500 people gatherings, maybe that will be reduced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
So will it go down to 10? Or will it go down?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Bad answer.
Yeah, bad answer. But they have 10 in some countries now.
Yeah, I think 10, yeah. And if I recall right, wasn't it that it was even 5 at most in US? But I'm not sure. But but I think that going back to that press conference from the Swedish government, and also discussing that, why choose 500 or 1,000 or something, that again go into the balance. What impact will that have on society, on economy, and so on? There is no there's no evidence do exactly this number. So those decisions, of course, need to be made very carefully. But I think, the next following weeks, since the interventions just only this last week, has been very dramatic, historically dramatic. They will be very, very important, and it's serious now.
Yeah, and in that sense, so is this the worst global pandemic we have in modern times?
Well, if you, after the Spanish in 1919 or something.
Okay, so this is the big one. This is the big one you've been waiting for, so to say.
No, but it's. It's extreme. It's historical, definitely so.
Very good. So we are running out of time, unfortunately, but if you would like to add some last words before we close this seminar?
I think I go back to this. Will we survive? And again, say that...
I even think it's a risk for survival. That surprises me. It can be a catastrophe.
It can be a catastrophe, but putting this is with all of us. What will be the big consequences, and also remember.
Maybe survived the Black Death?
Yeah, yes, we survived, but what impact? So that will be more like a cliffhanger for upcoming discussions. But maybe my last words would be that we all need to take responsibility, personal responsibility, all of us. If we don't do that, then we will be in much more severe trouble. So we also have a momentum about the personal responsibility.
So it seems that you really need people who work in behavioral sciences and
Yeah.
norm change as we do here at the Institute
yes,
to get the norms
yeah.
working.
Yeah,
That's one
so,
of the-
so it's in medicine we say like compliance. You need to be compliant or adhere to taking your medicine. Now we need to adhere to the recommendations. If all of us do that, then we will be much more well off and sooner than if we don't care about them or speculate or do whatever we want.
So on that note, thank you very much for coming here
Thank
and
you.
sharing your knowledge with us and your thoughts. And thanks to all the online participants. The Corona crisis clearly have put a large number of very tricky questions about the future. And that's of course what we study here at the Institute for Future Studies. So please come back and check our webpage. We're going to do more seminars like this, of course, because we are in Corona times. So our website and social media, you can see more of this. And there are some things, as you said, we have evidence for. We should wash our hands. I think there's another thing we know, that in this time of the Corona epidemic, we should keep our heads cool and our hearts warm. And, of course, again, wash your hands. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.